Hello and welcome to this quick revision webinar on how to prepare for your CIPS L6m4 Future Strategic Challenges. This module is very different from your other modules and requires you to conduct extensive research. And you need to develop your knowledge and research skills so that you can source the relevant literature, assess the validity of this literature, and justify arguments in a closed book exam, i.e. not just give your opinions. And that's the CIPS guidance. So wikis and blogs are not valid sources. It's evidence-based, i.e. it's not only about citing theory, so it's not a theory essay. You need evidence, and it needs to be current and not too old. Surveys, research, papers, reports, expert opinions will all suffice. Examples from your work practice or from your research. And comment here from the examiner's report. Good answers clearly demonstrated they understood carbon neutral procurement and were able to adapt their knowledge to the question and provide relevant examples and included evidence of having consulted external sources within their answer. That's guidance from ourselves. The research, CIPS give extensive guidance on this, and there is some learning modules on the CIPS website. However, the advice on the website and shown here is more focused on a general research project which you would do at university. So CIPS suggests we need to gather data from a range of sources, usually reliable sources, yes. We need to focus on academic sources such as journals. Supply management is good. Google Scholar's useful. And it talks about primary data and perhaps the need to link that to your secondary data. However, we do not need to do primary research. Yes, gather data from a range of sources. Use reliable sources such as Deloitte, McKinsey, KPMG, APQC, Hackett, etc. Some focus, but not a major focus on academic sources, journals and textbooks. Supply management is a very good source. And indeed, the CIPS knowledge series on the CIPS website are very good. You could ask colleagues, if you're lucky enough, for their opinions, senior managers or even suppliers, but do not beat yourself up. You do not need to do primary research. Secondary research, though, is essential. So the theme of the module is about future challenges. And so the answer needs to be future orientated. And one error some students make is focusing on the short-term operational issues rather than the long-term strategic future challenges. And we can see from this, the syllabus clearly has these words: emerging future, future, changing boundaries, emerging future challenges. It is about what's going to happen, not just now, but in the future to the profession and the supply chain because of the theme. So we need to answer the question and watch out for link words, as you should do in every exam. So if we've got an and in there, it's really a two-part question. And when this was asked some while ago, some students only focused on one part of the answer, either talked about the supplier or just Nestle, but not both. Another important point when answering the question, if it asks for 5, give 5. Don't give more, don't give less. And if it also asks for the impact, so it's got an additional requirement, do that. So many candidates didn't stick to that. Specifically, though, for this module, what does the chief examiner say in their reports? Some answers lack focus on the command word, i.e. if it said evaluate, you need to evaluate, not describe. Candidates didn't provide relevant examples. Lack of examples. Didn't justify the theme to the supply chain. failed to relate it to the question asked, and didn't link to procurement and supply. Didn't relate the issues to procurement and supply. Little depth. The use of research could have been improved. Some answers were generic, without sufficient reference regarding the theme. Many candidates didn't make the link between the theme, their research, and the questions asked. Didn't provide evidence of a broad range of external research. Lack of breadth with answers. Several answers contain short paragraphs or lists of points, which won't get you high marks. And they're taken from the principal marker reports. So you can see a common theme there. No focus on the command word, lack of examples, lack of depth and breadth, not linking to procurement and supply, writing in short paragraphs, no evidence of extensive research. So to get the depth and breadth, 25 mark questions, we generally want 700 to 800 words, 7 paragraphs, an intro, a main body, and a conclusion. 10 to 12 marks, pro rata less. 5 marks even less, but you're unlikely to get a 5 marker in this exam. And as the examiner has said, a common issue for many was lack of breadth. Several answers had short paragraphs or lists. Do not do lists of points. So the exam technique, there is going to be 2 questions, one from chapter 1, LO1. You're going to have one from LO2. You've got 2 hours, so no bullets. Don't use contractions such as this. Don't shorten words. Give examples. Cite studies or sources. Paragraphs. Relate to the theme. And some generic guidance from CIPS is quite useful there. And some specific on l6m4. There's some okay discussion in there if you want to listen to that. So, writing an essay style answer, obviously we need a general introduction. The main body, 4 or 5 well-argued paragraphs with evidence to back up your arguments, and a good conclusion. Restate your answer to the question, re-summarise the main points, and make a judgment call. So again, structure. Leave line spaces, no bullets, no contractions. Start with an introductory statement showing you understand the question, define terms, concepts, and context. The body of the essay, 4 or 5 well-argued paragraphs. And well-argued means not writing descriptively. We want evidence and we want arguments for and against. Backing up statements with evidence. Examples should be quoted and care taken to show why they are relevant. See next slide for so what test. And conclude your essay with a final paragraph linking to the question, and this could be finally, or in conclusion, in summary, overall. And a useful phrase when evaluating this, start by saying, however, would also need to be considered because of, or the decision may depend upon X, Y, Z. So a bit more on exam technique. Don't write all you know about the theme. Link the theme to the question. Provide evidence. And link it to P&S or the supply chain. Provide examples. Finish with a conclusion. And that's my guidance. So define key terms. You will generally be rewarded marks. And you need to evaluate, as we've said. You need to assess something. You'll need to consider for and against. And one way of doing this is to use the so what test. If you write a descriptive sentence and then think, so what? Think, what are the consequences of the statement? So Sainsbury's have not invested in IT. Fact description, you're not going to get. So you aren't going anywhere. So if we apply the so what test and expand on that, this has led to increased costs and makes them uncompetitive. Analysis. It has resulted in more analysis. This is a major problem. because of their falling profits, etc., evaluation. So by asking this one simple question and thinking deeply about the answer, we can make our answer more evaluative and less descriptive. So it's quite a simple thing, but it is about using linking words. Another way to use the link words is to use the cause and consequence, which is taught in many colleges and academic writing courses. So what is the cause? We can use words like because of, since this happened, on account of that, for that reason. The effect is, i.e. therefore, consequently, this has led to, accordingly, thus, hence as a result. Exam boards all say clear chains of reasoning using connected words and phrases help students get better marks. And CIPS are very strong on the need for using chains of reasoning, which is using sentences like that. And here's an example of one from an A-level essay about austerity in the UK. And there was a small extract which said spending had dropped 5.9%, and the answer is, one reason for this is, a possible consequence is that this has led to, as a result, this has happened, therefore wage costs have risen. A really excellent, quite detailed chain of reasoning. So you can see how that can be used, I hope. But if you need more help on academic writing, then we've got a very good guidance in the folder on Google Drive, which we can provide access to if you take part in the revision webinar. Referencing, I've mentioned that a couple of times, and you need to show you've done research that you've read widely. You might comment on the validity and reliability of the data you found. Was it primary research or secondary citing? Was it just opinion? Was it large scale? Where was it done? Who was questioned? When was it conducted? Bit detail, that bit heavy probably. But you need to reference the source and maybe comment on validity. So ideally, if you can do author and year, what simply just author would do, something like this, simply the latest CIPS survey report shows. Or did Porter suggests a source of competitive advantage is. Better still, if you could do a comment on the lines, in their annual survey of CPOs, over 500 people were interviewed from a wide range of industries. That's excellent referencing, but you don't need to be as good as that in all cases. Support your arguments by referencing or referring to research or examples. And the good thing about examples, it shows you've done the research, counts as a reference, and you don't necessarily have to say where you read about the example. So think about that carefully. Command words, at this level, we're not going to be asked to define anything. We're not going to be asked to outline anything. Generally speaking, the key words will be discuss, evaluate, or appraise. And without reading those through, you look at them yourselves, pause the video. There is no real difference. In all these, we need to evaluate. We need to discuss different points of view, advantages, disadvantages, pros, cons, and come to a judgment. So they're the main things. You need to always write, remember, evaluatively. But don't worry if it says discuss, you still need to write evaluatively. If it says appraise, you still need to do that. And really, for a 25 marker, no matter what it says, you need to evaluate. So the module is 2 bits. So question 1 comes from one of these 3. And question 2 becomes from one of them 3. No secret. 1.1 and 2.2 are very similar. So when you do your research, looking at how the professional supply function is going to change, you might want to lump all your research together on that 1.1 and 2.2. 1.2 is about skills and expectations of procurement leaders. That's been well examined. 2.1 is innovation and technology. And 1.3 and 2.3 look different, but 1.3 in its module content also has challenges and risks in there. So there is some overlap, but this is challenges and risks because of emerging businesses, say globalization. This is challenges in general because of the theme. So this is a broader future challenges than the risks and challenges there. So in the exam, CIPS quite rightly say there'll be two questions. First one from L01, as we've said, the second from L02. Read your articles, refer to them, and when you write your answer, evaluate and make judgments. That's very simple, just exactly what we've said. Two questions, use your research, answer the question, and evaluate. So the questions, we really know what they're going to be. Question 1 has got to be on 1.1. Something like how the theme will impact on the future of P&S. It could be on 1.2, skills and expectations on procurement leaders. That could be worded slightly different. 1.3, it's slightly harder, emerging business. And question 2 will be innovation and technology, maybe 2.1. Will be worded slightly different. 2.2 could be asked on the changing boundaries, which remember is very similar to 1.1. 2.2, discuss how the thing can be used to achieve competitive advantage, and that was asked in one of the previous exams. Evaluate how the thing will challenge the profession. And that's the alternative wording. So we can't be asked anything else. So prepare, don't write out detailed answers, but outline answers for these to think about what would I put in this answer if that question came up. And of course, you need to do your research first. You need to understand the theme, and you need to find articles and reports that discuss this in detail. So we know there's two questions. We know one's from L01, one's from L02. So you need a separate introduction. It's no surprise. Don't go into the exam thinking, I wish I'd thought about that. So you need to refer to the theme in each introduction, but don't repeat it. So define and explain the theme, maybe supply chains, what's driving importance of the theme, give examples. And if the question relates to agility skills or some other focused area, introduce that into the introduction. Paragraphs, remember, evaluatively. Examples, we don't need hundreds. 1 or 2 good examples will do. And a conclusion. Next steps then. What can we do to make sure we pass? Well, you can come to one of our revision webinars. We run one for every single series of L6m4. And the current July one is on our website there. It's also on Eventbrite. And the webinar will look at key research on the theme when it's released 4 weeks before the exam, and discuss likely question areas, and full materials will be provided. And you can contact myself on this number. So I hope you found this thought-provoking and gives you some more focused guidance on how to approach this exam. Generally, success rates are good, but by following the steps outlined, you'll do even better. So thanks very much, and hope you all pass first time.